It's trade deadline week, but we've got a mega extension in the NFL. The Detroit Lions extend a 4-year contract with Aiden Hutchinson. The New England Patriots super busy this week, multiple trades and signing their own as well. And looking ahead to Thursday night, Lamar's return and a whole lot more on today's NFL Six-Pack.
This is Locked On's NFL Six-Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff, just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six-Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six-Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to flip things up here. We usually do our Wednesday mailbag. We got too much news to cover. I want to hit this on Wednesday, and we're going to push our mailbag episode to the Thursday episode, and we're going to try to get involved with the social aspect and our listeners as much as we can here on the NFL Six-Pack, the newly rebranded Peacock and Williamson. And if you didn't know about our new rebranding, welcome to the NFL Six-Pack. It's our second episode with the new format. We got new color schemes here, new logos, but it's still Peacock and Williamson. It's still Brian Peacock at BD Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL. And we're having a lot of fun here with the new format. We want to get the listeners involved. So hit us up on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. Subscribe while you're there for any questions, comments, topics as we roll through every week, every day here. We're still doing it daily on the Locked On Podcast Network. And today's episode of NFL Six-Pack brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Big news on, we talked a little bit about this off the air, Matt. Isn't it a wild time for front offices to be making big signings and extensions in one of the busiest in-season weeks of the year? When you're talking trades, you're fielding calls. And the Patriots made 2 trades on Tuesday and then also finalized a contract with one of their own. It seems like the front office would be like, hey, agents, let's chill out. We're doing the trade deadline week stuff right now. This is like a busy time in week. We'll wait for week 10 to do this extension. But no, the Lions said Aiden Hutchinson, $180 million over 4 years. And I think one of my big takeaways is, and clearly, Hutch is one of the top defensive ends in the NFL. That's a big money position. He was going to get a lot of money at some point, whatever the timing may be. And they might have had a lot of work done and just finally got it over the finish line this week with a little something. But Matt, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, I think my big takeaway with this is how many good players they have and how a franchise starts to get very expensive. You've already paid a quarterback, you pay a wide receiver. Now you pay a defensive end. They've got more really good players at various positions. They're going to have to pay sometime soon as well. And so you might start to see this build and team build start to maneuver and change different ways. And it's funny because we actually kind of projected a trade on yesterday's episode in our first ever NFL Six-Pack that maybe the Lions would make a huge move at defensive end, but that seems a lot less likely when you start looking at the dollars of all of this with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and back to your point about, extensions and trade time happening at the same, neck of the woods, that does seem odd to me because not only are front offices super busy doing their week-to-week stuff that they always do, who are we going to bring in for tryouts, who are we moving off the practice squad, we got an injured linebacker we got to replace, like the stuff you just do week to week, but then you're also doing trade stuff. But it's also super busy time for the agents too. If you're Jacoby Myers' agent, you're talking with teams about extensions, if you're going to make a trade, blah, blah, blah. Now it would add up and I don't know if Hutchinson had anything to do with this, but if you have to move some money around in order to make some cap space to get Hendrickson in or whatever. I mean, I don't know this just came out. I don't know the nature of this contract enough if we had to make this move now to free up cap space. We see that in the offseason all the time. Mm-hmm. But just to stick with this one, I mean, I've kind of firmly believed that Parsons, Watt, Garrett, and Bosa were the edge guys kind of in their own territory. And as is the case, these things change pretty rapidly around the league. I'm not sure that I would still have Watt in there. Bosa's banged up. Parsons and Garrett, I think, have even elevated their game. But I think your boy, Will Anderson and Hutchinson are now, Max Crosby's also been in that conversation. But I think those two, considering their age, are skyrocketing into tier 1.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the way they can play, and it's a pass rush is usually a position that does get better. It ages quite nicely in the NFL because of the technique and what you bring to your football team, and how it's still a big boy position, and there's so much development that goes along with refining your pass rush skills, and that can get better and better and better into your 30s. And it's not quite like a quarterback or a kicker timeline, but it's definitely not like a running back timeline where you can get into second and third contracts as a big time defensive lineman and a big time pass rusher. And so that also helps the dollars go up and up, and you really have no problem ever paying a mid-20s, late 20s pass rusher a whole bunch of money, if they're that level in Hutchinson, and I think Will Anderson's going to get there as well. And that's what we're talking about with these guys, and it's so important. And easy to say like, well, you're going to get you're next, and you're going to get a whole lot of money. 4 years, $180 million for Hutchinson. I didn't really think about the angle of maybe this is because of that. Like you're talking with agents, and you're like, okay, well, what's the big money guy that we can kind of change the cap dollar situation here and push some money to the future? And it's like, well, we're going to redo you in the offseason. Let's do that now. Maybe that opens up the space for another move for the Detroit Lions.
Maybe. I don't know the contract or the nuts and bolts of it well enough, but that often happens in this league. A couple other notes. I mean, I do think the Lions really send good messages to their players. Like, I'm not picking on the Bengals, but they're haggling with Hendrickson back and forth, or take forever to sign Chase, or the Cowboys trade Parsons and wait forever on Lamb and Dak, where Detroit's like, we love you, here's your money, boom. I think people want to be Lions. Penny Sewell, St. Brown, all those dudes. If you're great, we're going to reward you,
Yeah, Penny Sewell already paid.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and you start talking about Brian Branch and Sam Laporta and
Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs potentially. And those are not the premier positions. They've already paid the offensive tackle, the quarterback, wide receiver, defensive end, which are the 4 highest paid positions in the NFL. But then what happens is, okay, you pay the big money positions. Well, now you start paying the middle of the field positions that don't make as much. That starts to get very difficult. So I'm going to be fascinated how many players they can actually pay if they're going to say, well, we're going to go all in now, and that's going to hurt us, and we're going to have a stars and scrubs build at some point in the future, and they might have to start to move off from somebody, whether it's like, we got to reset quarterback, maybe. We got to reset one of these. We can't just keep paying everybody. I know the cap is going up and up, and you see the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're able to pay 2 wide receivers and a quarterback and an offensive lineman, so they're able to do a lot of work there. But it will be it's the double-edged sword of having a lot of talent and having a lot of stars and having a really good roster, because eventually that roster starts to get very expensive.
I think that's going to be really interesting. What's the next phase of this build? But I think they're also smart enough that Hutchinson was the 2nd pick. Sewell was the 4th or 5th. Like, we're too good to get those guys anymore. There's no way we're going to draft the next Hutchinson or Sewell. That's for sure.
When they're drafting 29 instead, or 32 maybe. Right? Yeah.
Which is about where Laporta and Branch went. And, Gibbs is somebody you can get in round. He's all these guys are great, but I can get those guys at the end of the first round or on day 2. So if I let those positions walk, I can potentially draft the next Laporta or Branch. I can't get the next Sewell.
Yeah, Sewell and Hutchinson aren't going to be available for you.
No,
at the end of the first round. Sometimes they're not even available for you in the top 5 of the NFL draft. So.
You made a point about defensive ends and how they keep getting paid. I did a study right around when TJ Watt signed his deal that since COVID, the salary cap has gone up massive amounts. And everyone thinks these salaries are going up a massive amounts, and they are compared to what they used to be. But relative to the cap, only the top quarterbacks and defensive ends / pass rushers are keeping up with inflation. So, like, these owners, they're pretty smart. They didn't become billionaires by accident. They give the tight end a $3 million raise, which is a 20% increase, but the cap went up 38%. You know what I mean? Like, the edge guys are the only ones keeping up with inflation.
the league is doing well. The cap's going to keep going
Yeah.
up, and the teams are getting better and better at manipulating the salary cap and figuring all of this out. It's going to be fun to watch this Lions team, and we'll see if they even supplement that talent with somebody else here down the stretch of the 2025 season, because it is trade deadline week, and we've already seen some trades on Tuesday just after we dropped our trade projection episode, and both of our teams that we cover, the Steelers and the 49ers, making both moves were done with the New England Patriots. So let's talk Pats. They're cleaning house. They signed one of their own as well. I think is a good, I think was a really good way to add a hop in the step of your locker room after you trade a couple of guys away, which might be why they did a move like that, helping out one of their own after sending a couple of guys away. Why did they trade Kyle Duggar to the Steelers? Why did they trade Keon White to the 49ers? Next. Today's episode of the NFL Six Pack is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than just simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. More IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else, from footwork to breathwork. Athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings that same attention to how they craft every model. If you've never driven a Mazda, you got to go drive one and see for yourself, because I was blown away when I first got into a Mazda for a test drive and drove off the lot and bought that Mazda. And I've been driving a Mazda for 10 years, and you feel the craftsmanship. It makes everyday drives feel like anything but. Smooth handling, intuitive controls. When you sit in a Mazda, it feels better than anything in its class. It handles better. It drives better than anything in its class. And it's not even close. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. So like the players on the field, Mazda sweats every detail. You can feel those details for yourself, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. And if you're a sports fan, you ever want to go to sporting events, you got to have Game Time in your pocket ready to go. Not only can you get phenomenal last-minute seats, but there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. And let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout, super frustrating. That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price, plus all fees included. So the price you see is the price you pay. None of those sneaky, here's an extra fee at checkout that you didn't see coming when you thought you had one price on a ticket. I pulled up Game Time this morning. A couple of taps, you see amazing deals talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So the New England Patriots, very busy on Tuesday. I'm not sure if they're done, but they sent away two players, one to the Pittsburgh Steelers, one to the 49ers, and then re-upped one of their own. Let's finish the contracts portion of this episode in our six-pack of topics today, because the New England Patriots doing a lot of work. And Marcus Jones, and we talked about, why does the front office do all this? This one starts to make more sense to me. Cornerback Marcus Jones, scheduled to become a free agent after the season, has agreed to a contract extension, and he's an all-pro special teamer, punt returner. He's having a career year on defense, according to Mike Reese, who covers the Patriots, and he has a 3-year extension now for $36 million with potential upside to go to, and the numbers are here from Field Yates, the specifics. $40.5 million is what it could get to. It makes him a top 3 highest paid nickel corner, slot cornerback in the NFL. So not getting paid as much as the outside guys. And for a team that trades away 2 guys, I think it's a good statement to also say, well, these guys weren't part of the plan, but this guy is part of the plan. You want to be on the Marcus Jones side of things with this new regime in town, not on the Keon White, Kyle Duggar side of things.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, because you said it better than I did. And I was kind of wondering the same thing. And I think there's a lot going on in New England, to say the least, that the shadow of Belichick, Brady, the best dynasty we've ever seen in this sport, is still painting the walls. I mean, it's still there. There's still ghosts, and trophies and rings and success. And I think that Vrabel wisely, even being part of it as a player, realizes we can't live in the past. That some of the Belichick guys, and there's been a lot of them, there's been a lot of change on this team since Vrabel took over. We kind of went out. I want my guys. This is Drake May's team. I don't want to hear Brady's name. I have all the respect in the world for him, but we're going to get our players that we chose and don't really know the old Patriot way. Not to mention the last couple of years of Belichick, he made a lot of bad decisions in terms of GM stuff. And then I thought the year that he was gone in between Vrabel was terrible. I mean, just really bad coaching, really bad GMing. And I think they're trying to really wipe that slate clean as much as possible. I don't know that Duggar or White, and you and I will talk about them because coincidentally, those are the teams we went to, are terrible players. Or the Steelers picked up Jabril Peppers, who got cut. I mean, he's an NFL player. There's no real reason to cut him, except he's not really one of your guys,
Yes, yeah.
And then I think when you do reward one of your guys, they're certainly not. They're not holding a fire sale. Like they might trade for Jacoby Myers today. So they're not dumping dudes.
Flip a draft pick or two to another place because they're trying to go with the guys that are going to get them where they're going. And old players that were drafted and signed with old regimes are not going to be part of this thing going forward unless they believe in him. And they believe in Marcus Jones. And we'll talk a little bit more now about Duggar and
White.
Keon White. Both high draft picks, both talented physically guys, both have flashed, especially really Duggar already got a contract with the Patriots too, which is a
bad one though. That's why the reason why he was out, right?
Yeah. And they drafted Craig Woodson. I think was a big part of this. Mike Reese, again, we'll go to him because, he's really dialed into what's going on with the New England Patriots. And he said, a starter in the Belichick-Mayo scheme, Kyle Duggar played 38.8% of the defensive snaps this year in Vrabel's scheme, a backup role to starters Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson. And, listening to some Patriots fans and watching as much of the team as I have, Craig Woodson basically gives you all the things that Duggar can give you, but is just better in coverage. And Duggar's kind of that bigger, almost doesn't have he's almost a tweener really on defense.
Yeah.
Kyle Duggar.
So I think that, Hawkins and Woodson are not household names, but I think they found really cheap safeties that are playing really well, and they're the starters. So Duggar signed a bad deal. He's huge. He's like 6'1", 217 with remarkable combine numbers from Lenore Rhymes. He was an early second round pick. Like you have to be a weird specimen to be. Reminded me like Jeremy Chin coming out.
Exactly. He's one of those guys where you watch him at Lenore Ryan. It looks like when you see a future NFL guy or a 5-star Alabama recruit in high school, and it's like, oh, this guy doesn't even belong here. He looks different.
How did he get here? Yeah. Lee Bodden was that guy when I donated time at Duquesne. Like he's an NFL corner. Like, why is he here? Anyway, but he did have an ankle injury a couple years ago, and I don't know that he moves like his combine at this stage of Duggar's career. But he's an in-the-box safety that'll knock your block off. He's not great in coverage, and he's not on a great contract at the moment, but you can get out of it from a Steelers perspective. Steelers just lost Elliott for a stretch, or their safety play has been terrible. Their middle-of-the-field defense has been terrible. I think it's worth it for them. I mean, he's a high pedigree guy,
Is there like a nickel, sort of a dime linebacker role for Duggar in the Steelers defense? By the way, it's New England.
Not really.
So it's a 7th round pick along with Duggar going to Pittsburgh in exchange for a 6th round pick. So 7th round pick swap for Duggar, which is, it's kind of like this is next to nothing.
Next to nothing. You got to pay him the rest of the year and then you can cut him.
So New England didn't do this trade to get a bunch of picks back. They did this trade because they're cleaning house and they have other guys they want to play.
Yeah, and I think the Steelers are rolling the dice on a once talented player that can help in run coverage and some big slot stuff. And Queen and Peyton Wilson are their every down second level guys. That he won't replace those dudes, but safeties, to be kind, is a lot of balls in the air right now, which is probably kind of like the Niners edge guys, right?
Oh, the Niners are down to 2 edge guys here. So
The
Keon White move makes all the sense in the world, and you kind of see
I really like him.
Sort of a trade coming. He's the problem with Keon White. He's not an edge per se.
Yeah.
More. So we were kind of on the right track when I was talking about the Quinnen Williams possibility for the 49ers. And with a defensive tackle and interior rusher being a part of this thing that could continue to be a part of the thing, because when healthy they have their edge guys, and especially Nick Bosa going forward. But with Keon White, who still has he's still signed under his rookie contract through 2020.
Yeah, he's cheap.
So they jumped off this quick. He was a second round pick in 2023. He's only in the third year of his NFL career. He played 74% of the defensive snaps last season. And they valued his versatility to play inside, outside, stand up, kind of do a lot in that scheme. And for Vrabel's scheme, it's been basically he's an edge, but he's playing behind Harold Landry and Caleb on Chason, who's had some big plays this year. He's kind of revitalized his career under Vrabel.
And those guys are more edge bender speedballs. That's what he wants. Yeah.
And so Vrabel, instead of having all of the versatility and, big guys in small guy spots and small guys in big guy spots, he wants to have the classic 3-4 with the edge guys. And White's not a pure interior guy. He's 6'5", 285, depending on who you talk to, between 280, 290. So he's not going to be an interior guy on rundowns, but you already have other guys passing on. So basically he just doesn't have a spot, and he wasn't even active last week. So he's just been less and less and less and less involved. And so for the 49ers, they've actually really enjoyed utilizing that type of player, Arden Key and Charles Omenihu, and we're seeing it with Michael Williams, who they drafted in the first round.
Sure.
He's kind of a big end, but they like to move those rushers inside on passing downs. And so I think that's the role, which should be a lot better for Keon White, who just completely fell out of favor. And again, it's a exchange of late round picks, 2026 6th and 7th round pick for Keon White. They just completely jumped off the Keon White wagon here, and he's a young player. So he is a tweener. He's a little raw, he's a role player. He was overdrafted, and he's a raw prototype body that you hope you can develop. But for a guy in a rookie contract to pay almost nothing for, he's a nice rotational piece for a team that really needs it. Now, he's not going to bend the edge and rush from the outside, so I think the 49ers could still utilize a player like that. But this move doesn't cost a lot.
And 1 year ago, if you told me White was inactive, I would have been shocked. Like, I thought he might be a Pro Bowler. Like,
he might be figuring it out, and he was a former college tight end, and so there was a lot of reasons to believe in his pure, his relative athletic score is huge.
It's massive.
Prototype.
Both these guys,
athletic, big, but raw. And so, those are boomer bust types, and it's looked like it's busted out for him, at least in New England.
I just think it's a Vrabel thing, like you mentioned. I don't know where to put him in my scheme, so I'm not going to bother. I'm going to get rid of him and get a guy I like,
There's also some other stuff with it where maybe it just doesn't fit personality wise, because he was demoted in camp. He missed a game due to illness, but then declined to talk to the media. And then his playing time just kind of got less and less and less, and then was a healthy scratch for the first time in his career right before getting traded. So he was one of those players where, this week, all of a sudden people are like, well, I think Keon White, something's going on there. He might be available. And then boom, instantly he's traded away.
Okay. There certainly could be something to that too. I mean, he got a lot of first round buzz coming out of Georgia Tech, and then tested off the chart. And I thought he would go in the first. And, there's a lot of similarities with him and Duggar. Duggar's a little older, but they're both physical freaks that don't have clear positions,
Yep. Tweeners. And so they are now in Pittsburgh and San Francisco, respectively. We've got a quarterback change. Well, we got a couple of quarterback changes this week. One, because we have a new starter in New Orleans, and according to John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson back for Thursday night football. Next in the NFL Six Pack.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
All right, let's keep going with the NFL six-pack and some quick hitters here. Real quick, before we talk about the quarterbacks, Patrick Surtain injury is a big one for the Denver Broncos. Do we have an update on Surtain's injury and what this looks like as far as how long-term this is going to be? And
I don't know if he's officially gone on injured reserve, but I think he's going to, because I think it's 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, so 4 to 6, which is massive for the best player on that defense on a team that thrives on having a really good defense. So that it's I think it's an injury that we haven't talked a lot about this week, but it's something that is going to be super impactful for the AFC West and the Denver Broncos, who are in a really good spot after a win this week.
Yeah, and he's tremendous. He's the best corner in the league. He's Defensive Player of the Year, all those things. But they also drafted a corner in the first round that they haven't had to dig into too bad. They got an awesome pass rush. The offense is coming around. So whether that storm a little bit, I think they'll be better off than most teams would be. You know, it's like the Bosa injury's bigger. You know what I mean?
Right. Like you're going to get him back, hopefully, and you just got to stay in that playoff hunt so that he can help you out in January is the big key now with the Denver Broncos. But we had to bring up the Patrick Surtain injury. But let's talk quarterbacks here. And Tyler Shuck is the new starter with the New Orleans Saints. It was kind of a matter of time, you felt like, when Spencer Rattler was named the starter to start the year. We didn't expect the Saints to be a good team. They're not a good team. They're 1-7 right now. And I think you got to evaluate and see what you've got in a really high second-round pick. This is nearly a first-round quarterback. So you had to see him play at some point in his rookie season. And now you got to figure out if Shuck's the guy that changes your plans future for quarterback when you start talking about the 2026 NFL draft, and if he's the guy. And I know you liked Tyler Shuck and you did a lot of work because you thought maybe he would end up being a Pittsburgh Steeler. What are your thoughts on Shuck now as QB1 for the Saints?
I think this is pretty clear too. And unfortunately for Rattler, I don't think he deserves it. I mean, he's young. I think he's been mostly a success story this year. I mean, I think that he could maybe even be a starter in this league or a Ryan Fitzpatrick that lasts forever. But kind of like this Patriot conversation, this staff didn't draft him. This staff drafted a 28-year-old guy right outside the first round that has to play. I mean, that's the part of the sticking points about him. Like, yeah, I was really interested in Shuck for the Steelers, but there's more to it than that. I mean, for example, if he's not going to play over Rodgers, so when does he finally get on the field? And by then, do you know how good he is? So I feel like they had to make this move basically at midseason, and I wonder if they broke camp going behind the scenes. We'll go with Rattler half the year, we'll go with Shuck half the year, and just see if either one maybe can convince us not to take, whoever else in the first round or whatever, and maybe they will. Saw very little of him yet last week, and then notice he throws everything kind of on a rope, but we'll see. But this is kind of the bed you made,
Evaluation time for the Saints, and also maybe an admission the week of the trade deadline that, okay, we're not going to win this year.
We're not good. Yeah.
Evaluate potential trades for the Saints as well.
I think the Saints could move people, and
they should. Well, but we're never in lockstep with the Saints too.
They never do what I would do.
We'll find out. Interesting timing though, naming Shuck the starter. Here's good timing for the Baltimore Ravens. According to John Harbaugh, he expects Lamar Jackson to be out there Thursday. As we record this Wednesday morning, we still don't know exactly what the
looking like he's going to play,
and if he's going to play or not. But they usually don't say that to start the week. The plan is to have Lamar out there Thursday night football. It is the Baltimore Ravens at the Miami Dolphins. Baltimore on the road's favored by 7.5 points, by the way, Matt.
Yeah, and maybe this is my AFC North bias, but I mean, the Steelers were just on the road Thursday night, and I spent all week talking about how Tomlin stinks on short rest, and Thursday night road Tomlin's terrible, and that's 100% true. But someone made me aware that the entire division is horrendous on Thursday night road games. It's often against each other, but this is a Harbaugh thing. This is a Bengals thing. It's a Browns thing. It's a Tomlin thing. And I don't know why, but Harbaugh and Tomlin have been doing this for combined almost 40 years, and they never went on the road on Thursday night. If you're going to give me 7.5 on a team that's at home that showed some signs of life, I thought Tua played his best game. Some rust with Lamar. I'm going to take the points.
Yeah, I think you have to take the points here, right?
Yeah.
7.5 is a lot, even with Lamar coming back. A home dog. Dolphins showed a little something last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Both these are 2-win teams. I think we can all believe the Ravens are better. There's a reason they're favored. And straight up, I think you would still pick the Ravens. But 7.5 points is a lot to get on a road Thursday night. And not a lot of time for Lamar being back to prepare. It's kind of weird, to be honest with you, with if a Thursday night game is the game he returns. So what did that one day of practice help him versus not being available last week? Or wait till the mini bye. So it's kind of strange that the timing that this is when Lamar is going to be back, and it's going to be hard for, I think, the Ravens to be prepared for this game with Lamar Jackson even being back, and they haven't blown me away.
No, I'm not sure some of the fundamental things are fixed either.
Right. And so they still got some problems there. I'm with you. Welcome back, Lamar, which is just make this game a lot more fun to watch. Maybe last gaffes for the Dolphins. Can they talk themselves out of trading anybody if they win this game?
Yeah.
And the Ravens need to start winning football games too. So if they think they're going to get back and crawl back into this thing, you can't just keep going 2-6 and 2-7. And right, at some point it's like, the Ravens will be fine. This team did it this year. They start slow and they finish fast. Like, at some point you have to start winning some football games, and they did last week. Can they keep that going against the Dolphins? I think they can. 7.5 a little too much for me.
We talked so much trade stuff. I mean, I would think the loser of this game has to. I mean, if the Dolphins lose, it's a fire sale. If the Ravens win, or if the Ravens lose, maybe they just get out of the market for trades in general.
Yeah, they just say, look, it's not going well. It's not going to be our year. But for the Dolphins, I think this could be a big one where it's you have a long week to prepare for whatever's next, whether it's more trades, whether it's coaching changes. I think if you get embarrassed at home on Thursday night, primetime game, it's trade deadline week. You could really see massive changes, a tide shift for the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
So it's a pretty big game for them, and a lot of players probably and coaches playing for their jobs. That is today's NFL six-pack. We're going to do our mailbag tomorrow, flipped it around. So Thursday mailbag episode, and you can always get involved in a mailbag any old time. You don't have to wait for our mailbag. We're going to try to get more questions filtered in throughout the week here on the new NFL six-pack featuring Peacock and Williamson. So get those questions or topics in at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL in the YouTube comments. Please subscribe while you're there. Tell a friend about the NFL six-pack. Get them subbed up as well. Back tomorrow, right here on the brand new NFL six-pack.